When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is, I want to go back. I want to talk about a teenage house party. You see the cover art. I actually borrowed this cover art from my man Rodis from the Rodis Live podcast. Shout out to Rodis, Chi-Town's own great podcaster. Go check his podcast out. Always putting out dope shit. Been on there. I've been on his and he's been on mine as well. And definitely going to have him on again in the calendar year of 2024. But I saw that picture and I hit him up. I shot him a text. I was like, yo, can I use this picture for the podcast? He's like, yeah. He had posted the picture on his Instagram account. And it just, seeing that picture just took me back. Do you remember as a teenager, the house parties? I don't know about you, if you got outside, if you were able to go to parties when you were in middle school or in high school, or even when you were in college. I would assume that you went to parties, house parties, when you were in college, or college age, even if you didn't go to college. But those were the best. And so seeing that picture just kind of took me back to a time when, one, we were outside, two, we were having a good time, but there were certain things that would happen along the way. So I got a couple stories for you. First, let me start with middle school. House parties were everything, because here's the thing that was interesting about house parties, at least for me. It was that first social interaction without any type of supervision. So for the most part, I mean, now don't get it twisted. We didn't go to anybody's house party whose parents weren't there. It wasn't that type of party. But it was the first time that you could be social and be with your friends outside of school. And for some, it was dope. For others who may be a little bit socially awkward, it could be traumatizing. And let me tell you why. Because at these parties, the parties that you went to as a teenager in middle school, whatever you or whoever you were or whoever you were becoming was going to come out. In school, you had to act a certain way. You couldn't be in school. You had to, kind of, if you were wild, I'll just put it like this. If you were wild, you couldn't be wild at school, right? Because school has certain parameters that you can't. If you're a talkative person, you can't talk a lot in school. If you're an outgoing person, you can't be as outgoing in school. But here at the teenage house party, you could pretty much do whatever you wanted to do and be whoever you wanted to be. So for me, it was an interesting dynamic, particularly as I look back at it now. As I mentioned on a previous podcast, when I started middle school for me in my hometown of Florence, South Carolina, was 7th and 8th grade, right? And my parents were divorced. So they had just gotten divorced the summer before I went into 7th grade. So it was different because not only did they get divorced, but we moved out of the house, moved to my aunt's house on the other side of the city. And, it was different. And I was going to school with a lot of kids that I didn't know. So I had to get to know and meet a whole new set of people. And it was in that process where I found my crew. And my crew has always been my crew since seventh grade, and like we've been tight and still tight to this day, right? But the thing about my crew was they knew everybody. I didn't know everybody. So it was a little bit awkward for me. And I'll be honest, seventh and eighth grade, relatively speaking, and you may not believe this, but seventh and eighth grade, I was relatively shy. Listen, I know you're laughing. Stop laughing. I was relatively shy. I mean, shy around people that I didn't really know like that. Like you had to do a lot to get to know me. And I wasn't just going to let anybody know me. So I was relatively shy, but I wanted to get out and be around other kids, and namely girls. So that was a different mindset. So being invited to a house party in middle school was dope in and of itself, because here's the thing. Everybody didn't get invited to a middle school house party. Like, if you were a nerd, you probably weren't getting invited. If you were a thug, you definitely wasn't getting invited. If you were a rebel rouser, you weren't getting invited. So I really enjoyed the fact that I got invited to the parties, because I'll be honest, there were some house parties that happened when I was in like eighth grade that kids didn't get invited to. And the funny part about it was the house party was always be like on a Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. And if you didn't get invited, of course, there was no social media, because we're talking about, this is what, 87, 86, 87, something like that. There was no social media, so the word really didn't get around until you got back to school on Monday. So if everybody's talking about Jeffrey's house party and something happened at Jeffrey's house party and you weren't there at Jeffrey's house party, that could be an issue. So it was that was very interesting, to say the least. The house party scene. I think that was a very pivotal time for me, because again, I'm not as socially smooth, if you will, as I would later become. But so I got invited to a couple of parties. Here's the thing that really stood out to me and had me scared to death, was even being invited to my first house party, was the realization that I couldn't dance at all. Like, I was terrible. And the only points of reference that I had was Solid Gold, which was a TV show that came on. Shout out to Marilyn McCoo. What else? I think Dance Fever and Soul Train. I mean, like, that was it. So I didn't know how to dance. Like, there was no, and here's the thing too. You got to remember, again, it's like 86, 87. It was probably 86, 85, 86. So there's not even really any videos on TV where people look like me. Because, yeah, we had MTV, but BET really wasn't cracking like that at that particular time. And if it was, we didn't really see a lot of videos like that. So there was no video to tell me how to dance, and I didn't know how to dance. So I guess the best way that I could describe myself as how I danced when I was in the 8th grade. Do you remember the movie The Wood? Which was actually on TV today. I sat and watched it. Remember that scene where Mike was like dancing in the living room and his mom caught him dancing? That was me. Like, Michael Jackson moves. That's about it. Like that's all I knew because Michael Jackson was, the greatest. Um, so yeah, I didn't know how to dance. So I, particularly after the first house party that I went to, I had to teach myself how to dance because I couldn't embarrass myself any more than I did that particular house party. And the first house party I went to, I want to say, I think was it Miranda's? I think a Miranda's house party. And Miranda's real cool. I hadn't seen Miranda in years. Shout out to Miranda. I'm sure she's around somewhere with classmates. But I remember the party, and I remember because it was outside. I think it was out. Was it out? No. I take that back. The first house party that I went to was Monica's house party. Shout out to Monica. And Monica's party was cool. It was outside. We were in the yard. They had music, food. Not really food. I mean like chips and hot dogs and stuff like that. And I remember somebody turned the music on, and we were outside dancing in our front yard. And man, I embarrassed myself, man. I embarrassed myself really to the point where I remember on Monday morning, like somebody was like, "Man, did y'all see Kyle dancing?" Oh man, it was embarrassing, man. But what it did was it taught me like you got to get better at this. Like you don't have a choice at this point, right? And so taught myself how to dance. At least, well, let me just be clear. I taught myself how to move side to side with the beat. And I'm someone that loves music, so it really wasn't that hard. And I just spent a lot of time watching other people. But I mean, I wasn't about to start breakdancing. I wasn't start spinning on my head or anything like that. But I just didn't want to embarrass myself anymore. So I remember going to another house party at Miranda's house. I think that was like the second one. And like this one was inside, and it was it was like in her living room. And I remember her mom being there. And so like we were dancing or whatever like that. And then I remember somebody hit the lights. Somebody turned the lights off. And as a young boy, all you wanted in life was to be dancing. And somebody turned the lights off. So the lights go off. And somebody hit the lights again, turned them back on. And I looked around, and because at this point everybody's slow dragging, everybody's slow dancing, and the music's playing and it's cool. And next thing you know, like I look around, and there's people kissing, and I'm like, yo, I can't believe it. And so I think later that night, and I ain't gonna say her name because I don't want to embarrass her. We ended up kissing or whatever. And what was funny was we were kissing and the lights were off. And of course, my eyes were closed. And somebody turned the lights back on. And then I felt somebody tap me on my shoulder. It was Miranda's mom. Miranda's mom then became like the chaperone. Like she was going around turning the lights on. She was going around making sure dudes wasn't in there copping the field. Cause y'all know, if the lights are off, dudes are trying to grab butts. So, I mean, again, we're in the 8th grade. What else we gonna do? What you want to sue us? I mean, it was a wild time. It's the 80s. But yeah, that's how the parties were, man. I mean, like I realized, like I said, one realization I had was that I couldn't dance, and I had to learn how to dance. I could kiss though. At least that's what I was told. But I digress. Then we transitioned into high school house parties. Now, the high school house parties were a little bit different in Florence. Let me just speak from my side of Florence, which is the north side. Wilson High School is where I went to school in Florence, South Carolina. We did have a few house parties at my house. And we had them probably as we got a little older, because I don't recall ever having a house party in the 9th or 10th grade. Definitely in the 11th and most definitely in the 12th grade. And when I say we, I'm talking about my cousin Eric. You guys have heard me talk about him on this podcast before. That's my right-hand man. We're cousins, but we're cousins by name, but we're really brothers. We grew up together. Our mothers are sisters, and we grew up in the same house, and we're in the same grade. Although I'm 9 months older than Eric, and but like so, Eric was like, "Yo, we should have a house party." And I remember a couple of times we had house parties, and like in our house, there's a when you walk in, there's a huge den, and so the den is kind of extended, and so it was well, I'll put it like this: it used to be a garage, and what we ended up doing was closing the garage and making it into a bigger room or whatever like that. But that was the party room, so you know, wasn't going to be any grown-ups coming through. Once we got in there, got settled, and got the music going, wasn't going to be any grown-ups coming in. My mom and my aunts pretty much stayed out of the way, if you will, when we had house parties. There was nothing, never anything wild that I could think of. Um, but we had a good time. We had a good time. Now, our best parties, the best parties that Eric and I threw, um, the best parties that we threw were pool parties. We did or still do have a pool at that house. I don't live at the house, obviously. I'm in Atlanta, but that's our family house, and there's still a pool there. And so we grew up with a pool. And I didn't know how to swim at one point in time in my life. I think when we first got the pool, I was in like maybe fourth grade or something like that. But I learned how to swim. I actually taught myself how to swim. And I talked about that on another episode. So I love water. I love being in the water. I love swimming. But having a pool party as a high school kid was always dope. But now it did come with some challenges. One challenge was one black girls. Well, let me stop before I even do this generalization. The black girls that I knew, they didn't like getting their hair wet. So you could invite them to the pool party. So I mean, they now here's the thing: girls would always come. They would come to the pool party. Some would come in bathing suits. Some would come in with bathing suits and shorts, and then some would just come just to stick their toes in the water, and they weren't trying to get. And it's funny, they weren't trying to get wet. Or you had those that would actually get in the pool, but black girls wasn't trying to get their hair wet. No, hell no. So that was always interesting. And and it's funny now how we used to view it, but how can I put this? There were girls in high school who would show up at the pool party and did not shave and would have on bathing suits. And so as a young, fresh little boy, young man, we always got a kick out of it. Be like, yo, look at old girl right there. I'm not gonna call no names, but you know who you are because it got talked about on Monday when we got back to school. It's like, yo, we went to Kyle's house, Kyle's pool party, and such and such. Now I mean, came there with the and it was out. So that was always fun, and interesting to say the least. But the pool parties were always dope, and Eric and I always made sure that we had a good time, and we made sure that people ate. There was always hamburgers, hot dogs, and sodas and stuff like that, and we always made sure that somebody got thrown in the pool. It could be a boy, it could be a girl, it didn't matter. We we made sure that we were going to throw somebody in the pool. Now, here's the thing: we would never the way the pool is set up is we have 3 feet, and then there's a rope that separates 3 feet from the rest of the pool, and the rest of the pool it goes down on the slope to 8 feet, and there's a diving board or whatever. And so, like, we would never throw anybody in the deep end because you don't know if people can swim. But you throw somebody in the 3 feet, I mean, they're not going to drown; they're just going to fall in the water. So that was always fun, throwing people in the water. We threw a couple girls in at times, and it was cool. And here's the thing: we never threw anybody in their regular clothes. I mean, so that was never a thing that we did. But it was always fun. Always, the pool parties were always dope. And it's funny because like all my friends would be like, "Yo, man, y'all should throw a party every weekend." I'm like, no. what y'all don't understand is we gotta clean up this mess that y'all leave. So nah. And honestly, maintaining a pool is a lot harder than people would like to think that it is. Because you got to get the pH balance and stuff. Always has to be balanced. The pH always has to be balanced. If your pH isn't balanced, then you can get in the water and people's eyes can burn because you got too much chlorine in the water. And then it's the maintenance over the time and covering it in the wintertime to make sure that leaves and algae don't form, all kind of stuff like that. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. And I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound bougie or anything like that because that sounds pretty privileged, but it's not all what it's cracked up to be. But we had a ball. Eric and I always had a ball. I think the last high school pool party we threw was right after we graduated. And you know what's interesting now that I think back, I don't ever recall like telling people they couldn't come. Like, you just tell a couple people like, yo, come through, whatever. And it was always a small number of people, but there was always other people that came. So like we might officially invite, I don't know, 15 girls, right? If you invite 15 girls, 30 people will show up. If you invite 20 girls, 50 people will show up. So we tried to make sure we stayed in that range. It was never something where you're going to have a whole bunch of people or people that you don't know. Cause that's the thing too. Like, people I'm not gonna say people respected, who we are as far as that was concerned. Like, and what I mean by that is, if I didn't rock with you in class and at school, you wasn't gonna come show up at my pool party. I mean, that's just what it was. So there was a section of people who, I was cool with, because I seem to be cool with everybody. But if we ain't kick it like that, you ain't coming to my party. And that's cool, because I ain't really want you there. I wasn't going to deny anybody from coming. But at the same time, nah, this ain't that type of party. So, and that goes for the house parties too. Like, I don't ever remember like sending out, we never sent any invitations or anything. It was always word of mouth. And it was always something where you tell a couple of people and they're going to tell a couple of people. And, the only thing we wanted to make sure was like, make sure we tell the girls, like, because you want to have more girls at the party than you want to have guys. So that's a given. So the high school parties, like I said, we had a couple of house parties. We had more pool parties than we had house parties. And the pool parties were always dope. The house parties were dope. We made sure people got fed. We made sure nobody drowned either, because, there's always one idiot. There's always one idiot, because people don't understand, particularly the way that our pool was set up. Like, it's cement around the pool, and we have a sitting area, whatever like that, several sitting areas, chairs, on the whole nine. But the closer that you get to the edge, particularly when the sidewalk gets wet, it gets slippery. And so, yeah, if you want to go walk over by the edge of the pool, there's a good chance you could slip in. Fortunately, we never had anybody, slip in. Like I said, we only threw people in, so that was always dope. Then Eric and I get to college. Eric and I both attended. We enrolled at South Carolina State University in the fall of 1991. So I don't think, and maybe Eric can correct me. Now I'm trying to think. I don't know if we threw a pool party when we got to college. I think maybe we did when we were home for summer break or something like that. But I think the pool parties for us kind of stopped when we got to college. But we did have, some house parties. And man, listen, our house parties were crazy dope. I remember one party in particular. Eric and I came home. It was Thanksgiving break. That's what it was. Thanksgiving break. We came home, and what had happened was my mom, my aunts, they were going to New Jersey for Thanksgiving, and they asked us. It was like, we're going to see your uncle, whatever. Are you guys trying to go? And me and Eric kind of did the math in our head. Like, it wouldn't make any sense to, because Orangeburg is an hour and a half away from Florence, our hometown. And so it didn't make any sense to me to, rush home, and then you got to get back in the car again and drive 10 hours to New Jersey, and you're only there for like Thanksgiving Day and maybe the Black Friday, and then you got to get back in the car and drive all day Saturday back, and then you got to still get another hour and a half, to Orangeburg. It was just a lot. As much as I wanted to go to New Jersey, I didn't want my trip to New Jersey to feel rushed. And plus, Eric had put the bug in my ear, was like, yo, man, if our folks out of town, we can have a party. Word? So from that point, that's what we did. That particular time, man, we had a house party, and this house party was so dope. We just had a tape to play, a couple of tapes that we played. It was real small. Couldn't have been no more than about 10, 15 people, probably about 15 people. No more than 20. And everybody was in the den, kind of mingling around. And then, some people wandered around the house like, no, 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 no. You can stay on the first level. You can't go upstairs because the bedroom's upstairs now. We're not having that. But it was real cool. It was real cool. And a lot of stuff happened at that particular party. And there was a situation where a couple broke up because of what happened at the party. I'm not at liberty to go into detail about it because I'm sure that the parties that are listening will probably hear this podcast. But I will say this much. It was so cool to have my college friends and my friends who I'd gone to high school with in one spot, and just being grown. Eric and I didn't drink, so there was no liquor there. We don't smoke, so there was no weed there. So it was just a cool ass vibe. The dudes was checking the girls checking the dudes. It was we were grown. I'll just put it like that. And so we, being from a small place, it's always good because like you don't have to necessarily worry about the riffraff. You know what I'm saying? So the thing we learned was like, don't invite a whole bunch of people. Just have a couple of people in it, and it just be a cool set. Now, what our sets were, our house parties were then, or what you guys probably call kickbacks now. And I think particularly the ones that we had when my mom and them went out of town, there was no music. I mean, I'm sorry, there was no food. We had music. We had a good vibe, but there was no food because we wasn't feeding y'all because me and Eric were broke. We're broke college kids. And we just kind of made a pact like, man, whatever happens at the party stays at the party. I remember I remember one of my good friends. She got mad at me because of my affiliation with another young lady. And that's all I'm gonna say. But we smoothed it out. We're like this. But and whatever happens at the party stays at the party. Like we just keep it simple like that. And nobody was in there to kiss and tell or whatever. But it was so cool and so smooth. And unlike that time when Theo had his friends over on the Cosby Show and they had a house party and the house got tore up. None of that was happening in my house. None of that. None of that. Please believe that. Because like my thing was like, y'all know this is a good thing. We can keep this thing going, but the only way we're gonna keep it going is if y'all keep, be cool. And everybody was cool. And we threw a couple of house parties like during the summer. Now the summertime is always different because one, obviously my folks are there, but the house party sets really always seem to, well, I'm not gonna say seem to. At times they would frustrate me because like we would end up having a party and it wasn't because I threw the party, it's because somebody said, well, hey, what y'all doing tonight? Oh, we're gonna be at Kyle's house. And my house, as you can kind of tell by now, my house was really kind of the hangout spot. Like it was the spot where we played basketball. And I'll give you an example. I'll never forget, it was a Sunday night. I mean, it's a Sunday. We always hoop at my house in my driveway because it's like big enough we do 3-on-3. And so we hooped or whatever like that. Fellas hooped. Everybody went home, showered. And then I think Zell came by. Then Derek came by. It's like, what we doing tonight? I don't know. What you trying to do? And I was really trying to get out. I was trying to get in the streets. And Florence ain't got a lot of streets, but whatever streets Florence has, I was trying to get in them. And then the next thing I know, another homie come through. Then Jay Fresh come through. Then another girl comes through. And it's like, then, you know, a couple people call somebody, and we didn't have cell phones. And then a lot of times what would happen is people would drive past your house, and people drive past your house and they see cars in the yard, especially if they see familiar cars. If you drive past my house and you see Denise's car, you see Zell's car, you see Jason's car, you know that something's going on. And so people would then like we just had a kickback pretty much where we didn't even invite anybody. It's just the homies, and then more people came, and the next thing you know, we got music playing. And I really wanted to leave the house. And what was wild was like I was low-key trying to kick everybody out because I really wanted to get out. And I couldn't. But, you know, things happen. But in conclusion, man, those are some great times. I will say this much. As a father, I have yet to host a middle school party, a high school party, or a college party. That's probably never going to happen in this house. Not under my watch. Now, if I go out of town and something like that happens, I'd probably choke them out, but you know, hey. And I only say that because I know that they might watch this video or they might listen to this podcast. But my kids, I mean, if they wanted to have a house party here, I mean, we could make it happen. But it's going to look a lot like the parties that I had, not like anything that they might think of. And there will be adults around. And there won't be any lights off. But no, those were dope, man. Those were dope. I mean, we had we lived in a place where, like I said, it was a relatively small place, and where everybody kind of knew each other. But it was always a good time anytime people got together outside of school and got a chance to kick it. And you relish those moments because little did you know that, you know, as you get older, those moments kind of disappear and the people kind of fade off. And even as I'm thinking about, you know, some of the faces at some of those parties, there's some people that, you know, while they're still here on earth, I haven't seen them in years. There's one particular young lady who came to my house party when I was a freshman in college. I have not seen her since that party. I don't know where she is. She ain't on Facebook. She ain't on Twitter. She ain't on Instagram. I don't know where she is. For all I know, she could be on the moon. But she's still alive. But no social media imprint or anything like that. But and I only know this is because somebody who was kicking it with her that particular night is still looking for her. But we had some good parties. And I think, you know, it was a major part of my childhood. And I like the fact that I grew from being that little shy kid who couldn't dance to the dude who quietly had some of the best house parties that, you know, Florence just didn't see or know about. And that's perfectly fine with me. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thank you for checking out this bonus edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. The podcast drops every Thursday at midnight. And from time to time, we drop bonus episodes just like this one on Sundays at midnight. Be sure to subscribe. We have a YouTube channel. Subscribe there. Follow me on the socials, 12 Kyle and 12 Kyle podcast, on TikTok as well. Got some videos there, on Instagram and the Facebook. If you feel so inclined, if you feel like throwing us a couple of dollars, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy, 12 Kyle, with a bonus episode talking about the teenage house parties. Hope you had a chance to reminisce. I'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's. Chill.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more, and all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.